In our campaign 2020 coverage, one of our viewers had a good question. How exactly does the wealth tax work? Joe Chiodo went to UMKC to find out.
A big thanks to viewer Mike Culpepper for this question. Ahead of Missouri's primary, he wants people to know exactly how a wealth tax would work and who exactly it would impact. He said he didn't know himself. Here's the deal. An income tax simply taxes your paycheck. A wealth tax taxes how much somebody is worth. Here's how you can figure that out.
I think it was William Proxmire years ago was said something like, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax that fellow behind the tree.
Stephen Pruitt is a professor of finance at UMKC. He uses that quote to explain taxes to his students. Nobody likes them and nobody can agree on who deserves them.
There's a lot of confusion out there with regard to taxation. In particular, the subject of the year would seem to be income inequality.
Wealth tax would impose a tax on the extremely wealthy. To calculate that, you add up assets like cash, savings, investments, houses, cars, pension, etc. Then you subtract your debt. The tax would be applied to that number if it's above a certain level. Senator Elizabeth Warren first introduced the idea. Of course, her plan is sidelined now that she's out of the race. But Bernie Sanders is still in the game. Sanders' wealth tax proposal would only affect people with wealth that's more than $32 million. Depending on how far over $32 million you go, you'd be taxed at a range of 1% to 8%. You and I most likely wouldn't have to pay anything. When it comes to wealth tax, we're talking about a lot of money.
It definitely will not apply to me yet.
There you go.
You know, but that's the key, is when these things start is not where they end up.
He says take income tax, for example. In the early 20th century, it began as a 1% tax on high-income earners. It's since progressed.
Last I checked and last you checked, we pay a lot more than 1% income tax. These things become very progressive over time.
Joe Chiodo, KCTV5 News.
And according to economists who back a wealth tax, about 182,000 people in the U.S. would be impacted under Bernie Sanders' plan. Do you have something that you want answered? You can email Joe at goodquestion@kctv5.com.